monkey. Right, hopefully this is working. I'm using Phil's setup, so I've kind of just twisted some cameras around. I don't really know what I'm doing with all of his setup that he's done, so I've basically got a dog cam because I don't know what to do with the square that's on there. So we've got Khaleesi down here and Lola, they're both asleep at the moment. I imagine they'll get up and want to play later on. I'm not really doing much other than getting on with some of these Kharadron Overlord models, or they're actually Necromunda Orlocks. So at the moment I've done 10 of them pretty much to well, they're all to this stage. All I've done is base coated some brown and some Zandri dust, and I've just tried putting a thinned wash onto the Zandri to see how it comes out. It's almost like more of a yellow than a dusty colour, so quite happy with that. The test model I did the other day is very different to these, and I know a lot of people said they liked it, but I'm not. It just didn't really grip me too much. So this one was, I'm going to use this similar sort of colour scheme. I'm just switching some of the browns around. This yellow will end up going pretty much up to Screaming Skull rather than White Scar, which is what it is on there. I'm going to use the same red. I'm probably going to use the same metallics. So it's Lead Belcher with a Riser Rust wash on it. However, I'm not sure about the Riser Rust wash either. It was the first time I've used it. Ooh, subscriber. Slav Marine. So there's not going to be a whole lot going off in terms of me flicking scenes and looking on browsers at different websites and things. However, it is obviously Age of Sigmar 2 launch day today, so loads and loads of people have got their stuff. I know there's been errors in terms of people not being able to download the books. I know Ralph was having issues this morning when he paid for it. I think the servers must have been really busy. And I know that the app, because I was chatting to Patrick, and the app hasn't been updated yet in terms of points. So I know there's a lot to be done basically, but hopefully we'll get there in the end. So there's not many people in the chat, as I wasn't expecting. I've not done this in a few weeks now, but because I'm at Phil's and I'm dog sitting and I'm basically painting these anyway, I may as well have just got this set up and chat nonsense for a little bit. So if you've got any questions, or if you want to talk about anything, whether it's Age of Sigmar related, whether it's Warhammer 40k or something else entirely, just put it in the comments below. If you're new to the channel or you're new to the stream, just say hello and let me know where you're from and ask any question that you want, and I'll basically sit here painting and chatting away to whoever's here. So Joe Scoville is here. I'm going to see a live show. Patrick Metzger as well. Welcome Patrick, hope you're doing well. If Sam gets his internet working on time. Yeah, this is Phil's internet. I woke up this morning and the internet was down, and he's had no issues since he's had this new super speed installed. And obviously the first night that I stay over, I crushed it. The internet just stopped working, and it's not because I was downloading anything. I basically went to sleep when it was working, woke up and it was gone. So that was annoying this morning, but it's been sorted now. It basically was a wireless extender that just needed restarting. Let me know if you can hear me all right as well, because I kind of did a quick test, but not an expansive one. So if I need to tweak anything, I can have a look at what I'm doing with that. So I'm not on my internet, which is good, because hopefully this should last. Touch wood. Oh, otherwise it would be frustrating that wherever I go there seems to be no internet. Pan Karka Med Silt. I've seen you before. I think I vaguely remember that picture. Is that from League of Legends, or is that something else entirely? It reminds me of the blue-haired girl out of League of Legends. I forgot the name. Jinx or Jinxed. Anyway, reminds me of that. So you're from Sweden, and Joey's from the sunny Isle of Wight. I went to the Isle of Wight once. One Spaz 11. Hi from Canada. Welcome, One Spaz 11. I hope you're doing well. I've not seen you in a while as well. Yeah, I went to the Isle of Wight once with school. It was like one of the first trips away that I ever had, and it was interesting. It was an experience. I think we went to a butterfly museum, or a butterfly farm, whatever it is. Not a museum, they weren't all dead. However, I did stand on one of the rare things. There was an Atlas butterfly there, and they said there's like only a few of them here. And I just was walking around and I stood on one, and it wasn't even like it was on purpose. I just accidentally stood on one because they basically had no well, it's natural selection at the end of the day. If you're going to fly underneath my foot, there's not much you can do about that. Poor little thing anyway. I felt bad, especially because they didn't have many. That was my experience of the Isle of Wight. We live in a time warp. It did feel like that. It did feel like it was... I'd gone back 10 years, and that was when I was younger as well, which was only yesterday, really. Nothing has changed here since then. Butterfly World is still going strong, even after losing the Atlas Butterfly. That's good to know. I was pretty guilty. There was a theme park we went to there as well. Not sure. Maybe it had something to do with dinosaur fossils there as well, or there was something to do with dinosaur fossils at this theme park, because I can remember just being interested in all of that rather than all of the rides. I wasn't really bothered about the rides. I try and, as well, this is a new one. I've bought Abaddon or Abaddon Black. Normally I use the base colour, but it is quite thick and chunky. Obviously you thin it down quite a bit. I figured I was just going to try this air version of the paint, and it is a lot thinner. Yes, that was it, Joe. There we go. It was definitely that. So I thought I'd try this airbrush version of the paint, but it definitely requires probably 3 thin coats. So it'd be interesting to know how many people got the new starter set today. With the servers going down, I imagine it was quite a bit. And that's purely from the digital side of things. Obviously there's been quite a big demand for it as a physical copy. I know a lot of stores could only order so many, especially the independent retailers. They could only order so many. Do you remember the huge pirate statue outside? Yes. It was probably, how old would I have been? I would have probably, that was year 7, no, year 6. That was primary school I went, I think. So how old am I? I'm 30. I would have probably gone when I was about 10 or 11. So it was about 20 years ago. I've been doing a lot of reading as well. I've been interested in some 40k. I'm trying to decide which 40k army to do, basically. I have my Primaris, but at the minute I've got the Black Dragons for them, and they just require such a long amount of time to paint them, because I've decided to do a really long-winded edge highlight job on them. You're right, Lola. So... there's the dogs chilling out. So I'm thinking I need something that's a bit faster, otherwise I'll never get more than 1,000 points of an army done. However, I need something background-wise for it to be interesting enough for me to start doing them. So like Age of Sigmar, there's literally no shortage of armies that I could pick up and do purely based on the background and how cool they are, and like a thematic side of a force that I would build. Whereas 40k, everything's very much the same, or it feels samey. Dark Eldar are one that have stood out to me, partly because their rules just seem ridiculous. I looked through the codex yesterday, and I haven't played 40k since last year, so I'm massively behind in terms of the rules. But I just wanted to have a look through a codex and see if I could pretty much pick up any of the rules again and see what would be really powerful. And I don't know if it's just because 40k has changed a lot since last year alone, or Dark Eldar are just really powerful. But one of their main army rule is, if you have something like the power from poison, power from pain, or something like that rule, which is pretty much most of the units in the Dark Eldar force, you basically get an extra ability every turn added to your rules. So on turn 1 you'll get one rule, on turn 2 you'll get another rule, but you also keep the first one. So it's cumulative. You get all of these special rules, and it's not like they're little tiny, oh, you get a reroll or something like that. There's things like you can reroll advance rolls, or you can reroll failed charge, or not even failed, you can reroll charge rolls. So I've done quite a bit with the lists that I've done for Age of Sigmar to try and make some form of synergy between units, so that you can get the re-rolls and you can play the list together. maximum you probably get 1 or 2 units that get to do one single reroll, whereas Drukhari from turn 2 onwards, their entire force effectively can reroll failed charge rolls. That just seems extremely powerful. The first ability, so on turn 1 onwards, if whenever they take a wound on a 6, you ignore it. So that's Nurgle level resilience, you know, not a 5 up, but a 6 up. One in 6 saves, failed saves, you're going to be ignoring that, and that's just massive, especially when you combine it with bigger units. And some of the like witch units and the Kabbalite warriors, they can all go up to 20 men. So you know, there's plenty of bodies that you can fit out there, and I think some of them may even go higher than 20. Now there are some other special rules. I can't remember what they were called, like temptations, or they're basically artifacts. No, they're not artifacts. It's like a special rule that you can pick for your army, but it has to come from either a witch cult, a cabal, or a coven. So you have to pick one of the 3, and you can't mix the units, as far as I've read anyway. So you have to almost dedicate your army to one of those 3 faction sides. And I'm looking at the witch unit-wise, out of the entire codex, the Hellions, they're like Green Goblin, basically, all of them are. And they just look amazing on paper. I don't know if that's, again, because I've not played 40k in so long, or because I haven't seen what else is available, but they've got like a 14-inch movement. They've got 2 attacks base. Their weapon is strength, I think they're strength 3, but they get +1 strength for just the weapon that they have, as well as it doing 2 damage, which is quite big. It's not as big as it is in Age of Sigmar, because wounds don't carry over into the unit. But it is still quite nice to have something that can put out 2 damage, because the rest of the Dark Eldar stuff is like poison weapons. So it's on a 4 or more, you wound something, but you'll do 1 damage. So the Hellions seem pretty good in combat. On top of that, they've got combat drugs, and you can effectively pick a special rule to give to that unit. The way that it works is you've got something like 6 different special rules, and it might be +1 attack, or +1 strength, or +1 to hit. But if you choose the extra ability, you have to do them. You can't give like the set 2 units +1 attack. You have to dish out 6 special rules before you then go around to giving another one the same thing. So if you've got 7 units, 6 of them will all have a different one, and then your 7th one, you can pick one of the 6 that you've already allocated to something else. The other option is you randomize it, so you pick, like, if you've got 6 units, you roll 6 dice, and then that's what those have off this table. So depending on how you'd prefer to go, you can get a pretty decent extra ability. So if you think about like those glaives on the Hellions, you can give them all an extra attack. If you've got 10 of them flying around, they've got double the amount of, or, you know, 50% more attacks. They're all damaging on 2. They're 14-inch move. They can get around the board pretty quick, and they've got ranged weapons on their little hoverboards. Pretty awesome. So combat drugs combined with the army-wide special rules and some of the units that seem uber powerful have tempted me. And the other thing is, it can't just be filthy rules, because, you know, the rules change. They'll probably get nerfed if it is really powerful. So they have to be enticing in other ways. And I like the idea, I like the background behind the Dark Eldar, at least what I've read so far, where and I will read through the chat in a moment as well. I can see Phil's popped his head up. He should be with his family. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the way that they survive. So basically, when they die, I think Slaanesh eats them, as far as I know. And the way that they prolong their inevitable death is by torturing other people or other things. So that's how they sustain their own life, through torturing people. So they exist based on that alone. At first, you know, I always used to think they just enjoyed doing it. So it was like a pleasurable thing. They just like torturing people. But no, it's literally life or death. And it's very similar to the Idoneth Deepkin in Age of Sigmar, where they don't necessarily do it out of cruelty. They don't just capture people's souls and, you know, that's it. Oh, I've taken your soul. Haha, unlucky. They're literally doing it because it's the only way to prolong their life. And not just prolong their life longer than it should normally go, but, well, it does. But it's like the Idoneth have been... they've been cursed, so they die really early because of the curse, their taint on their soul, which again is from Slaanesh. So even in 40k and fantasy, Slaanesh is having a very similar impact in both of the worlds. I think one day they're going to have to merge 40k and Sigmar, or have a branch, a bridge that merges the two universes in some way, shape or form. I think it's going to happen. Right, Matthew Brooks, Drukhari are fierce at the moment, so yes, that's interesting that it's only at the moment. And knowing Games Workshop with what they've done so far, they'll probably nerf them into the ground. Again, the Drukhari are one of the later releases, as far as I know, in 40k, so I'd imagine Space Wolves, when they come out, they're going to be quite powerful, and then when the General's Handbook comes out, they'll have time to rebalance and repoint and do what they normally do, basically. Liam Badley, I'm on a break from work. You have 20 minutes of me. That is glorious, Liam. Couldn't be happier. Joe, orcs would be super quick to paint up. It's just there's so many of them to do. The problem is I wouldn't be able to do a horde army. So orcs would be out. And the idea of an army I did in the past was effectively the mega knobs, are they called? The ones in the huge armour, and the battle wagons and Ghazghkull. So I would go elite orcs, and as far as I know, that might not necessarily work so great. But that's what I would do. The big mega guys with Ghazghkull and as many big battle wagons and elite orcs as I could go. Same as Tyranids. I think I would potentially do Tyranids, but I wouldn't want to do the horde side of the Tyranid army, so I would go for like the Carnifex army, Hive Tyrants and Flying Hive Tyrants. Obsessions they're called, apparently, Matthew says. Thank you. We'll talk about those in a moment. Yeah, so Phil's asking, my internet is working. Yes, it is working perfectly fine. This is Phil passing through, and then he's got to go. Yeah, see you later, Phil. Dark Eldar, particularly Scourge sets, have loads of conversion pieces, so you can go to town on HQ units. Yeah, that's the reason I was looking at them. I remember when the Archon came out, the plastic newer version, and a lot of people were saying the pose looked a bit rubbish. But I was like, pretty much the entire Dark Eldar range is interchangeable. You can just mix all of the kits up and have something looking really cool. So that's another reason Dark Eldar were a little bit tempting. Is that a word? Tempting? Tempting. That's definitely a word. So the background seems quite interesting. The rules are good enough, and the conversion opportunities are awesome. I did some painting tutorials on the Wargame Online Premium side of the website, and I basically did 4 or 5 different colour schemes for the Dark Eldar, and I have to say I enjoyed all of them. I think my favourite, the end result, my favourite one was probably the yellow one, because it ended up looking like a wasp. It was like a really bright yellow done with Avalon Sunset, and then it had like black glossy spikes and stripes all over it. But the only problem is the yellow was a bit of a pain to paint on, so I'd probably end up having to either prime it with white and then do at least 2 or 3 layers, or pop around to Phil's, or pop around here with the whole army done and just airbrush the hell out of it. Scott Byle is here. Welcome, Scott. Hope you're doing well as well and still cracking on. What was the last thing I saw from you? I think it was probably your ogre. Was it the ogre? Ogrin? Balgrin? I think that was what I saw. Maybe it was you, maybe it was someone else. Tom, one of the lost Primarchs disappeared through a wormhole into the mortal realms and grew up to be Sigmar, but outside of the Emperor's psychic influence, just did his own thing. 2 games now linked. See, yeah, I mean, Sigmar was obviously in the old world, so it wasn't even in the mortal realms that he woke up in, unless they're going to rewrite it. So he must have been around since the old world. I mean, it's Games Workshop, it's their lore at the end of the day. I know there's a lot of people that get hung up on change when it comes to the story and the background, and that you can't have certain things, but at the end of the day, Games Workshop are in control of their story. They can pretty much adapt it to whatever they want, and I know a lot of people will dislike it because they have their own idea of how the lore should go in their head, or agree or disagree with changes that can happen to the lore, but it's all changeable. I don't like when they wreck on everything. They just, you do a whole campaign and then they go, yeah, that didn't happen. And just Men in Black mind wipe you. It's like, yeah, I still remember that. However, I was thinking it would be cool. It probably wouldn't be cool. The outrage would just be too much. But it would be quite funky if Sigmar and Archaon ended up being 2 Primarchs. I don't know how they'd make that happen, but it would be pretty cool if they managed to work their way around into that. So Sigmar being the good guy and Archaon being the bad Primarch. I think that's a little bit too far-fetched, but I could definitely see them having the Age of Sigmar as like a realm or a universe, or like you say, even like a part of the warp or something within the 40k universe. They could easily get away with that because 40k is so big and expansive, and Age of Sigmar is, Sigmar could have been traveling through some crazy parts of space, and this dragon brought him to the mortal realms. Who knows where it actually was? I can definitely see them being able to do it. Whether they'll do that is an entirely different matter. Would it be good or bad if they merged the two? The thing is, they take a lot of similarities, like between the gods, and it's mainly the gods really, and if it's pretty much the chaos gods where the link is. So if they were going to link the two, it's not just the chaos gods, is it? They've got the elven gods as well. They could definitely link them. It's just how they would do it. And I always thought maybe it was like I thought it'd be quite cool if it was like a simulation. So Age of Sigmar was a simulation that they were playing out, or maybe Sigmar could be the Emperor. So the Emperor's asleep, but in his dream state or whatever he is, he could be Sigmar. There's always that side of things as well, and the Emperor of mankind could be Sigmar in his dream state, and that could be that, off in the warp somewhere, that is the mortal realms, and that might be where they're going to go. Well, they're probably not going to go with that. That's just a crazy thought from me, but I think that would be quite cool. The Emperor's got to be doing something other than just holding chaos at bay while he's sitting on the throne. But you can imagine the outcry, Imagine if the Age of Sigmar, the Age of Sigmar has been doing really well since it first got released, and they destroyed everything in the past. They killed the old world. There was a lot of negativity around that, and you can understand why. And they've built up the Age of Sigmar now to being something that's just really awesome, to be honest. It's my favourite part of the hobby right now. Imagine if in 5 years' time they just go, yeah, that was all the Emperor dreaming. He's woke up now, so all of that's gone. Just one way to wipe the Age of Sigmar, isn't it? 12 Neef, hey from Brooklyn. Hey, how you doing, 12 Neef? Are you happy that Age of Sigmar has been updated? Is it going to affect you very much in your skirmish escapades, or will you just continue the same except having more models available? Scott, just got the last bits I needed to finish assembling my Immortan Joe. Yeah, I did see that actually. The Dallas storyline. What's that? You're going to have to explain, Joe. It might be something that I've not watched or read, or it might just be before my time. Yeah, this black is taking a while to put on. So my decision is, what I've done is, the boots on this guy are black. So the boots and the gloves I'm now going to paint black on the other one, or on the other ones. However, the belts and the buckles and all of those straps and things, I might still use the Mournfang brown colour. I'm just going to try it with black first and see how dark the end result is. Because it might be that the whole model is quite neutral and dark and gloomy, and the only thing that stands out on these is the red cloth, which I don't think is going to be a bad thing, and obviously the t-shirt or the undergarments that these are going to be wearing. The Who Shot JR story, it all ended up being a dream. Oh, okay, fair enough. Dima Kizilov. Don't know if I pronounced your name correct. Hello from Ukraine. Great job. What's your favourite malign sorcery? I really like the pendulum. Looks wise, not necessarily rules wise, it's actually pretty good. I quite like that one. So I'm going to go with the pendulum. I did a top 3 the other day, even though Phil asked me what my favourite was. I couldn't pick one. So it was the pendulum, the ice palisade, prismatic palisade I think it's called, and there's another one, the wave, the undead wave. The other things I've been doing, what have I been doing this week? I've been building all of these, so all of it's done now. That's all my infantry, which are down here to the side. When I primed them, I did it when it was extremely hot outside, so they did go a little bit dusty, which is a shame. So I'm just trying to salvage the paint job by doing really thin coats and not putting too many layers over the top of it. I also had an idea for the Ironclad. There's another weapon I want to add, so just imagine I told the guys on the group chat on Facebook, I said imagine a giant wrecking ball with Miley Cyrus on the bottom of my Ironclad. I think I gave it a different name. I think it was Smiley Cyrus or something like that, but I'm not going to have anybody swinging on it, but it's going to be a giant wrecking ball, and I'll just say it because it's not that big of a deal. But the Skaven cart thing, which has got the wrecking ball on the back of it, it's got like a giant globe of warp fire or whatever it's called, the warp stone brazier, the whatever that weapon is. I'm thinking of trailing it on the bottom of the Ironclad, almost like it's just ploughing through things, because the Ironclad in the background, it actually flies quite low compared to the rest of the fleet. The rest of the fleet are like whipping around, and the gun hoarders can take hits for the larger vessels, but the Ironclad flies fairly low to the ground, and then all of the infantry that are inside it put the ladders down and then jump off the side. So I thought that'd be quite interesting if you had a giant wrecking ball where it would just plough through things and take out structures and, you know, giant monsters and things like that. It would hurt. The Rust Belt Blacksmith, they look great, Sam. Rust Belt, what was your question again? I saw a comment, and I'm here now, so I can look through the book for you about the Stormcast. I know it was something Stormcast related, and the book is literally here. So if you want to ask me again what that question was without me getting all the comments up, then I will answer it live. They look great, Sam. I like the colours. Not a fan of KO rules, any of the versions, though. That's fair enough. I mean, depends why you don't like them. I mean, obviously you're allowed your own opinion completely. Rules-wise, it's been quite difficult to make the list that I've done, but I'm quite happy with the outcome of it. Effectively, in my 2,000 point list, I have an Ironclad, which will come down from the clouds wherever I need it to be. And inside the Ironclad, I've got 20 Arkanaut company, so that's 2 units of 10. And I've got a unit of 5 Thunderers, so it's the maximum 25 that you can have. When you're over by a certain amount, then your vessels move slower, so it will move slowly initially, but because it's coming down from the sky, it's no big deal. On top of that, I've got 2 frigates, and in each of the frigates there's a 10-man unit of Arkanauts. And is there a 10-man unit of Arkanauts? That might be the 2,500 points got 2 frigates. The 2,000 point I think only has the 1 frigate with a 10-man unit in it. Yeah, that's right. And it's also got a admiral in there. And what the admiral does in the Kharadron Overlords is it allows your vessels, whichever vessel it's embarked in, to be able to run and shoot in the same turn. And the Skyfleet rules that I've chosen, I think it's called Barak Zilfin or Zilkin. That's the fleet that I've chosen, and their special rule is that whenever your vessels run, they're always classed as running 6. So I think the normal movement for a frigate is 10 inches. The run is always going to be 6, and I can still shoot. So my frigate, which is going to be at the back of the board when I'm doing the deployment, will have a 16-inch move in its first, well, every turn. There's also a special rule where for a one-use thing in my movement phase, in my hero phase, I can move as if it was the movement phase. So I get a free hero phase movement, then I get a 16-inch movement, and then I can still shoot with the vessel itself. And I've taken a battalion on top of this, which I have 3 gun haulers and the Thunderers and some of the Sky Wardens. And all of this now fits into 2,000 points because of the price reductions on KO. But because I have taken a battalion, my frigate and the Arkanaut, maybe no, it's just the frigates, I think, they get an extra shot, basically. It's not that big of a deal. It doubles their single shot on their first turn. But the problem was I didn't think they were going to be in range on the first turn. But with that extra movement from the Arkanaut, from the Admiral, they're actually going to be able to get up the board and still shoot and be a threat. But it's kind of a one-trick pony. Once you've dumped all of the infantry out of the ships, they're pretty much stranded. You know, you can jump back in, but by that point, your Ironclad and your frigate should be flying around. The Ironclad's got some really nice synergy with the rest of the army, so you can raise a flag with the Ironclad, and depending on which one you choose, it will have different effects. And for example, one of them is you can, I think you shoot 2 extra shots with any ether cannons that of ships that are in range. So the gun haulers, the frigate, and the Ironclad all have ether cannons, and they might only have like 2 or 3 shots, or even 1 in some cases. But adding an extra 2 shots to those just seems quite nice. And you can just imagine an Ironclad coming out of the sky, putting up the flag, and the more just bombarding units. I like the idea of that. Dumping all of the infantry, they can capture objectives, or they can just annihilate one unit as they land. I think it's going to be quite good against people like Rachel, who's going to be having a slan in her deployment and pretty much just bubbling at the back of the board, because I can drop down and I can remove at least the shield, or even pick off Croak potentially, and just not worry about the -1 to hit. So rules wise, I think there's some definite stuff you can do, some synergies that will work, but it's not as easy as some of the factions have got it, where you can just put a really filthy unit in that has all of these special rules and you don't need to synergize it. And because there's no magic in the Kharadron Overlords, this new edition is going to be quite difficult to compete against armies that do have magic and that do have summoning. That's kind of a problem sometimes. So it's called a Plague Furnace. That's fair enough. Thank you. Scott's saying the wrecking ball can be on the ship named the Smiley Cyrus. That's a genius idea. So my Ironclad is called the Iron Core, because the core of it is iron, the rest of it is wood, because it's been repaired by humans. But potentially I could just change the name to Smiley Cyrus. I kind of like that. If the weapon works, I might change it to the Smiley Cyrus. Pankaka says, I think the biggest game changers of them is the chromatic cogs and the spell portal, and they won't be awesome for all armies, but for some, yeah. The spell portals especially, I think that's extremely powerful. Just being able to cast your spells to the other side of, not even the other side of the table is going to be as dominating as just 18 inches further on, because the spells have got range on top of that. It's going to be powerful. So I need to decide what I'm eating for food as well tonight. I've not eaten all day. I'm really, really hungry. But I can't just raid Phil's kitchen. So I might have to see. Because Phil lives in like the middle of nowhere, I can't even just like order a takeaway. Well, I can, but there's very limited takeaways that you can order. And they all charge like an extra £4 or £5 to deliver, because it's like in the sticks. So I eat bread, or I just dish out and just pay for the delivery. I'm in 2 minds, so I've just not eaten yet. I've been fueled on tea and squash all day today, but I have got a lot done. I've edited a video that's going out next Wednesday, and that is on the army box that was sent to us a couple of weeks ago. That's coming out, I thought it was coming out in August, but the Kickstarter is actually in July, so it's literally around the corner. So as of next Wednesday, it'll pretty much probably be a week or so, and then you'll be able to see what the Kickstarter information is all about. But it's a really nice box. I've been fair with it, as I am with pretty much all of the reviews. I'm not going to big something up if there's something that I potentially dislike or think could be improved. But overall, it's a really good product. The price is incredible. It holds a metric ton of miniatures, which is exactly what you want a case to do. But there could be some room for improvement, but the price again is really good on this case. So when that video is out on Wednesday, it'll be interesting to see if people are interested in that or not. Hopefully it goes well, because the guy who's designed it has been doing it for a long time. He's apparently been developing it since 2015, the specific case that we've received, but also he's been selling magnetic cases since 2010. So, you know, it's a long time of making prototypes and changes and releasing it. There's a lot of dedication and work that goes on when you're doing these sort of products. Do I paint all of this? I should really paint it all black before I paint silver. Just can't be bothered. Big Rich, hi all, just got home from the pool. That's nice. I love swimming. Kind of want to go back on holiday now. I enjoyed Greece. It was such a nice little cheap getaway. Last minute deals are the way to go. And we absolutely looked out where we went. It was just beautiful weather. The sea was amazing. The food was glorious. The hotel was like a 3-star hotel, but it was effectively a 5-star. You know, you want to sleep there, and that's pretty much it. But other than that, they were brilliant. The hotel staff were great, and the pool there was quite nice as well, actually. I'd like to mention, if you didn't know, more than half the battle plans for match play in General Handbook 18 has 18 inches between the armies instead of 24 inches. I didn't realise that. Yeah, I definitely didn't realise that. And the games we've played, we've been taking them out of the main rulebook, I think, not the General's Handbook, but I imagine they're going to be quite similar. We probably even glazed over that sort of stuff. You know, when you've been playing the rules for so long, it's difficult to get out of a routine, and it's always 24 inches away from the enemy. If they've changed it to 18 inches, those close combat armies are even filthier. Like Jack's Stonehorn can move, run and still charge, and it gets extra movement to all of that sort of stuff. It's just ridiculous the amount of range that he can do to get across the board. So if he's able to be deployed an extra 6 inches closer, he's pretty much guaranteed to charge anything that's on the line, and if they're not on the line, he's going to be able to charge them a little bit easier. It's interesting that they've done that with some of the battle. What we realised was some of the armies that seemed really powerful on paper changed quite dramatically when you looked at the battle plans, and it's not like in the past. Most people, when they play a game or when they learn the rules and stuff, or you go to a store, they just get their army out and say, oh, what scenario do you want to play? And most people just glaze over the scenario and just decide to kill each other. And they're the worst types of games you can play for Age of Sigmar, because you literally do just push all your models into the middle and watch them fight it out, and you just roll dice. You're better off just rolling dice for 2 hours or an hour and seeing who rolls the most amount of 6s. If you play in Sigmar, I think you need to play the battle plans, and it's the same with 40k in a way. If you just play kill games, then they will end up the same way, or it'll be very boring and not interesting at all. Whereas if you play the scenarios, they just change it dramatically. Like Rachel's list at the minute, she can sit her slan at the back of the board, and she can double her army basically by turn 3. So yeah, she can do that, but while she's doing that, she's not capturing objectives. So if you know that and you go, okay, you're going to summon by turn 3, you're going to have twice as many things of me. I need to do something to get into the position where I can capture the objectives, and it doesn't matter what you've got around me by that point, or score victory points early on, or get to the other side and destroy their objective before they can react. You know, there's plenty of scenarios that play differently now. They're not all the same, and it just dramatically changes it. And the fact that you roll for it, you have to build a list before the game that can compete in a variety of different battle plans. And like the new battle plans, one of them that's come out, I think it was the General's Handbook, the new one. One of the battle plans is you can only capture objectives if you have a hero with an artifact. It's not even just a hero anymore. You can't just buy like a cheap 60 point or 70 point necromancer. You have to buy something and have an artifact on it, and it encourages you to basically buy more battalions. which effectively reduces the amount of models that you have available sometimes because you pay the points for the battalion itself. But you do get your command points. You know, the game's changed quite a lot in such a small space of time, and it's not as simple as it first was. And there's definitely more to think about now than there was when the game was released initially. Hey Lola, you come and say hello. The Rust Belt Blacksmith. Sam, thanks for asking about the Stormcast question. I was wondering if the Lions of Sigmar was a chapter. I have seen a few others' reviews. One listed all of the chapters' names. They aren't. Okay, fair enough. Lola, you are adorable, aren't you? Yes, you are. I've not looked through the Stormcast book. I had it here because I decided that when I've done a bit of... Lola, let me just read for a little bit, yeah? No. No, no, no. Lola, sit. You're really well behaved most of the time. Sit. Lola. Sit. Down. 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 There we go. Good girl. Good girl. I love the artwork on this book, by the way. Which camera's on? This one. The artwork is brilliant for the front cover. But I've not even flicked through the covers, so I genuinely don't know what's in here. I found a rule earlier. Somebody wanted to know about a war scroll, so I just quickly flicked to that war scroll and took a picture of it, and that's all I've done. The artwork's quite nice. There's tons of background in here, same as the rest of the stuff that's come out. But it is quite... Oh, the painting guides are really good as well. I wasn't expecting that many. Wow. Okay, so yeah, the marks of the righteous. So it tells you all of the... It is like a Space Marine chapter. It shows you all of the symbols that they have on the shoulder pads and what that means. The tabards, it's telling you the different colours and what that effectively means. The beast marks, to display the likeness of an Azerite beast, is a mark of honour. The might of a cave bear, the swiftness of a star eagle, or the ferocity of the celestial lion. So they're usually worn by officers such as the primes. That's interesting. And then you've got 3 pages of the different chambers. So you've got the hammers of Sigmar. Let's see which one. I've still got my Vanguard that I need to paint, so I really need to decide a colour scheme. I love the Celestial Vindicators, the teal sort of green colour, and the red robes. Lola, don't put your nose all over those. The Astral Templars are quite nice. Tempest Lords are awesome. Celestial Warbringers. Azerite Arbiters. You alright, Khaleesi? This is just going to turn into me reading through the book if I did this. This is the problem. Oh wow, there's some really... The other thing I've noticed with the Stormcast releases is their new heads that they've got available. The bear heads are just amazing. Wow. The Lord Exorcist. I don't know if anybody's seen that already. I wonder which camera will show this best. Oh. So, vaguely see that. The guy with the big staff on the corner of the page. Look at that pose. The staff is like 1.5 the size of himself. It's incredibly cool. Hallowed Knights, says Adrian. Let me go back to them again. Let me just double check. The Hallowed Knights, I have been listening to the audiobooks, and the Hallowed Knights are quite... They pop up quite often. Only the Faithful seems to be repeated throughout. They're nice, but I think for me, I like the brighter coloured ones. Although they'll probably take longer to paint. The Sigmarite Brotherhood's quite nice. It's like a bone armour. They are effectively chapters. I agree with almost everything you said. Having variation with battle plans makes the game. It really does. Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, most of the... oh, sorry. I just realised what this Lord Exorcist, why I like it so much. It's the little tabardy bits that are coming down. You really can't see that. But there's 2 tabardy bits that come down from his shoulders. They look brilliant. A lot of people complain about Sigmar, saying it's just pushing your models into the middle of the table and fighting, which is... true to a point. When Age of Sigmar first came out and people just forced each other to try the rules, that's what ended up happening. And mine and Jack's first game of Age of Sigmar 2 that we played on the channel, which is available to watch, the result was that we pushed our models into the middle and fought each other, and we knew that was going to be the case because we both played combat armies. The battle plan that we rolled for was like 2 center objectives, and we were going there anyway with the armies that we were using. So you could pretty much, from that battle plan and from the armies that we were playing, and the fact that we were just trying to learn the rules, you knew how that was going to go basically, and it did go that way. Some amazing Stormcast models. I really wish I was doing these. The Evocators with the Tempest Blade and the Storm Stave is just one of the coolest poses. The bare faces on these, the female models and the male ones, all of it is just incredible. Wow, what's this? An Evocator Prime. They look like characters. Let me see if I can get it on the better camera. Oh no, it's not going to work, is it, because of the light? Oh, you know what? Ha! Genius, Sam. Oh, yes. Oh, there's a bit of glare. Let's see if I can turn this off. There we go. That's better. So we've got an Evocator Prime, which just looks cool. Is almost, you can see with this left hand is like, or she, doing like a psychic power from the head. Really cool. And then the Evocator in the middle with these blades. I would just do a whole army of these, and they're wizards in the new Stormcast stuff. They're really cool wizards. You've got these new giant celestial Dracolines. I'm not keen on them. You know what? I actually like them more than the Chocobo looking things. They're a lot cooler. They just don't remind me of something that a very regal, heavenly sort of army would use, to be honest. But saying that, they're supposed to tame the nastiest beasts, and from taming them they control them. He just looks really cool, proper veteran. Evocator Prime, so you can have the wizards on the back of these giant creatures. I'm going to make sure I try not to, let's push these models out of the way a little bit. I know Pink and Jack, I think, did a review on this book, which went up today, but I haven't seen this yet, so I'm going to quickly flick through. Yeah, the paint guides are just... Look at that face. Look at the detail on both of them. Use Kislev Flesh, Reikland Flesh, Kislev Flesh, and then Flayed on Flesh to highlight. Yeah, looks like there's more than that going off. And a whole lot of skill. And then you've got Rhinox Hide, Doomball Brown, Tuskor Fur, and Acadian Flesh highlight. I do like the Acadian Flesh highlight on darker skin tones. You've even got like patterns and things like that. Look at this dude at the bottom. It's like a Braveheart style war paint on his face. Oh, it is. Create war paint design. That's insane. So they've got marks of battle, how to do distressed armor, how to do scratches, how to do war paint, and blood and gore on cloth and things. Really cool. And then they're showing you how to paint quite a few different chambers, actually. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 in-depth ones showing you how to paint the chamber. And then there's 4. Then there's 4 more smaller ones. And then you get onto the allegiance abilities, which I'll read later. Bedtime reading, that's going to be. Joe's doing... Oh, Rustbelt says... Love the audiobooks. The audiobooks were great. They were quite a lot shorter than the ones I'm used to, because I normally listen to the Horus Heresy, and they are long. But the Sigmar ones are more manageable. You can put them on and on like a journey to work. You could listen to one of them, or sometimes 2, depending on how far you've got to go. If you're painting from home and you've got like 8 hours of the day just to sit and paint on a day off or whatever, or like me every day, you can get through pretty much the entire series in one sitting. So not bad. But they are brilliant. I love the vampire in one of them. The Hallowed Knights definitely do like shouting "Only the Faithful." That's pretty much what I remember. That and the vampire. And there's an amazing... One of the audiobooks is just my favourite out of that series, where they go to a desert, and if anybody's read it, obviously without spoilers, that was my favourite. They go to a desert and it's all to do with vampires, and if anybody's read it, you'll know which one it is. And that was my favourite. Such a cool, so dark as well. Like, you look at Sigmar and you think fantasy, blah blah, all bright and happy, but it's not. This book was so dark and grungy. I mean, it was darker than 40k, and I know that seems difficult to do, but they nailed it. I love the deep blue with the Lions of Sigmar. Never did any purple, but now I wish I had gone with the Knights of Azir or the Hallowed Knights. It sounds like a new series. Sam reads you to sleep. I know I'm boring. I apologise. I just can't help myself. What time are we on anyway? Oh wow, 10 minutes to go. Okay, it's been quite a... That's gone really quick. I've not really talked. I've not really painted, to be fair. I was supposed to be sitting doing painting. Maybe I do just need to turn off the stream and just sit and get these base coats down. Trying to keep it underneath the camera as much as possible doesn't help speed things up. I should probably do what Else the Nation does and just have the camera off the side so you can just see the work area and not in particular anything, because there's not much going on that you really need to see right now. I'm putting black base coats onto a model. It's not like you need to see the details of that. So next time I might just not bother with a close-up camera, and then I can just get on with stuff much easier. Although Phil, bless him, before he left, because I struggle to paint normally, I have to have like my own desk at home because I have a very low chair and then a very high desk. So my desk is much higher. It's normally, you know, I like to rest my arms on the table as high as possible. And at Phil's, he's got a very low chair and a very low table, so I end up hunching over. And anything more than an hour, your back is just killing you. So I can't paint here. So before he left, he went and got 2 big blocks of wood and a plank of wood. And this is honestly a genius setup. Like, underneath this plank, because there's 2 boxes on either side, underneath there's enough room for me to put like the paintbrush, the case that I've got for all of that, all of your supplies underneath out of the way, and on the top you've just got all your paints, and I've got more than enough room for an entire working surface. Just layering up a desk on top of a desk is the most genius thing I've seen, and I'll probably be doing this at home, extending my desk upwards. Oh, we've got the Wargamer in. Welcome, dude. I hope you're doing well. We haven't spoken in a while. We probably need to catch up. You've been doing some really good painting tutorials. I have been watching them. Being jealous with how quickly you batch out your painting tutorials. I'm really enjoying the extra character they're giving to Stormcast in this edition. Yeah, and they fleshed that out on some of the audiobooks beforehand, and they're kind of going further with it now. We did get a comment on the Stormcast video that went up today. Somebody saying that it was depressing how bad the lore is for the Stormcast, or just how bad the lore is. And I was thinking, I haven't read through the Stormcast lore yet. I don't know if they've read it. But if it's anything like the rest of the lore for Age of Sigmar, I don't know how it can be depressingly bad. If anything, it's better than it ever has been. And, you know, it's going forwards. It's better than going backwards. And they're definitely bulking out the characters. You look... When Age of Sigmar came out, no one really cared what chambers were. Whereas now, in this chat alone, there's a bunch of you talking about your favourite chambers, and that's only going to happen because of the background. Obviously the colour scheme looks cool and some of the characters that are in there, but the background that goes with it as well. So if anything, I think they've done better. Yes, I know, Lola, I know you want affection and tickles, but I'm busy. No, when you said you were going to read the book tonight, you could read it live. We could listen in like you're reading us a bedtime story. I'm not very good at reading and like reading out loud while I'm trying to read at the same time. I basically would just skip sections, so you'd be like blah 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 Stormcast, blah 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 Eternal, and that would pretty much be it if I was doing it live. I don't think you'd enjoy it. Other than just dramatically reading out the paragraphs as they are in the book. That's the only way around it. And the Stormcast killed Nagash. That's not a spoiler. I don't think anybody kills Nagash. I haven't read anything. Wouldn't be the first time that he dies. Or the 5th. I always like listening to what your thoughts are. I don't think you're boring at all. That's fair enough. Thank you. I only say that because Rachel, she still puts the videos on that whenever I'm talking in a video, which is quite a lot because it's difficult to make me shut up. She puts the videos on to go to sleep to. So that's basically what I'm aiming it from, or taking it from, the fact that my own wife just puts the videos on so she can go to sleep. And when she's really tired but she can't go to sleep, she'll just say, "Just talk to me, Sam. Tell me about Sigmar. Tell me about Nagash. Tell me about the Primarchs again." And the thing is, every time I've been telling her all these stories to her, she's learning bits and bits. So when it gets round to another bit of the story that I'm talking to her about, she's listening. She's picking up, even though she's fallen asleep. She knows what I was saying and she remembers it. And she's getting quite good at the background herself, actually. And I think she's getting into it. She's extremely excited with the changes to the FAQ that came for Age of Sigmar, because they've said that the Slan, Croak, can actually cast his spell 3 times. The rulebook, the Battle Tome rules, overrule the core rules now. So the rule that the Croak had is he can cast his Meteor spell 3 times. And Rachel always used to get annoyed because they clarified it and said he couldn't do that. And now they've switched it. They've just said, yeah, that overrules the core rule, but go for it. Cast Meteor 3 times. So she's done a list. She wants to play this against me. I've told her I'm not playing a game against her ever again because it takes like 4 hours to play 1,000 points. But she's still pushing it. And her list, she says, is a Dreadsaurian, Lord Croak, 2 units of 10 Skinks, and I think that is 1,000 points, pretty much dead on. Maybe she can include the banner guy, the Astrolith bearer. And her idea with that army is to put Lord Croak at the back, surround it with Skinks if needed, and the Dreadsaurian can be teleported turn 1 and mess people up, is what she said. And then after that, Lord Croak can obviously cast extra spells anyway, so she can just summon the rest of the Seraphon units that she wanted for free. So that's the idea. And she's worked out that the Dreadsaurian, even though she can now summon it with the new rules, Forge World have clarified with the new War Scroll for the Dreadsaurian that you can summon one. She said it's not summoning point efficient, were her words again for that. So she's been looking quite heavily into the optimal summoning targets for her Seraphon list. And I think when we get our armies finished, well, when I get my army finished, which shouldn't be that much longer now, I'm on the road to getting these painted. When I've got my colour scheme sorted, I can just batch paint. And I'm not going to be doing like the Black Dragon. They're not going to be a superb painted edge highlight on everything. They're just going to be done. They'll be done nice, but they're not going to be like a competition winner, I wouldn't say. Or, I don't win competitions, but I mean, I'm not going to be aiming to do as good as I can get. I want to get an army done so that when the elves come out, whether it's Tyrion and Teclis or whether it's Malarian, I want to be doing that army immediately. Like, as soon as it hits, I'm doing it. That's basically my idea. Pankaka, I'm tired of painting but pushing myself. Soon done with 153 models for Moonclan, doing them all assembly line style. Well, credit to you for doing that many. I always wanted to do a Moonclan army, and I got put off by the number of them. However, the little robed Moonclan units, the Night Goblins, I do love them. You could, spray them black, dry brush the hell out of them, pick out the faces and paint some really cute little eyes. One thing I know does help with that army is just doing that, the priming black, dry brushing grey, and then paying a bit more attention to their faces. And something that I think works quite well with green is if you wash either a red or a pinky or a purple colour underneath the eyelids or around the eyelids, and sometimes around like the mouth area, maybe not the mouth, but you get really nice contrast between the green and the purple that you end up using. Try that, especially with the goblins, because there's not much going off. They're basically robes and a face and then like a weapon. Your robes are basically all black, so what you look at is the face of the model with a little bit of purple just to contrast with that green. It really does make the model pop and stand out. Dave, hey Dave, I know you're excited about Age of Sigmar too. You guys reckon it's worth getting a couple of Balewind Vortex Eternal spells also? Now, if you talk to me, no. If you talk to Rachel, get 3. So, I mean, I'm not doing any magic, so I'm personally not going to use them. If I was going to be doing magic, I'd probably get 1 of each spell. I don't think I'd be getting 2 of everything. The Balewind Vortex is good, but I think you really only need 1. Because if you if you're aiming to be on the top of a vortex, you've normally got like one decent caster that's going to be using it. And even if you say you wanted to summon 2 of them, you just put the points aside to summon 2, but you don't need them both at the same time, so you still only really need 1 model. The exception to that is if you're playing like a 2 or a 2,500 point game and you've got 2 really big casters. Like if you're playing Lord Croak with Teclis when he comes out, and you obviously want both of them standing on vortexes doing like a wizard off or something. You kind of want 2 vortexes for that. If you're going magic heavy, then maybe. If you're just kind of dabbling in it, or you're including magic in your army, you don't need 2 vortexes. That's pretty much it. Tzeentch might benefit from it. I know Tzeentch, I know the Lord of Change has gone up. Patrick is not happy about that, but as always, he will tactically work around it and find the most optimal list, and we will all get destroyed regardless, so it doesn't matter what happens to the Lord of Change. There will always be a way for Tzeentch to win, so I don't think he's worried about that. And I know we're getting, I mean, I'm building this army to play in the next doubles tournament with Patrick, with the Sylvaneth that he's planning, but if the elves come out before the next tournament, I know that he will get the high elves 100%, and potentially, if the Dark Elves aren't out and there's only High Elves, I might do the High Elves with him, and we just go with the doubles army, doubles High Elf army, which will be amazing. And if they do like Tyrion and Teclis, I would let Patrick pick, but I would prefer to have Tyrion because he's a badass. Although saying that, I should really do a magic army at some point, so maybe I should do Teclis. The other option is I just wait for Malarian, because he's basically Tyrion and Teclis combined. He's got the magic skill of Teclis and the martial prowess of Tyrion, and he isn't blind like Tyrion is now, so Tyrion relies on Teclis to get around in the mortal realms, which is a bit of a shame. Wargamer, we need to catch up. Oh yeah, you'll be finishing them up in no time for the book. When the book comes out for the Moon Clan, you'll be really happy, and that should be pushing you along. But I understand what it's like painting that much stuff. I mean, I've got 30 Arkanaut company, and that's nothing really, and it's taking me a while. And I hope Moon Clan or Grots will better get... Yeah, you'll get a Battle Tome. And Ralph saying, evening all. Sorry for being late to the pie, but watch the rest. Yeah, the football. I imagined the football was going to be keeping a few people away, and I haven't been doing these regular Saturday shows because we've been doing so much other content. The only reason I did this one is I think Joe and a couple of other people were asking if I'm going to do one tonight, and like I said, because I'm painting, I can just turn the camera on and just talk nonsense for an hour. I don't think I'll see what the demand is for these sort of shows. I think realistically the group shows are what we're going to be doing on Wargamer Online a lot more, so where we get like either other people from different channels, or it's myself and Phil and myself, Phil Pink. We've got enough people at Wargame Online that we can just get 2 or 3 of us together and we can just talk nonsense between the group of us for an hour. But I would like to get to the point where we have like a structured weekly, like a Wargame Online weekly show, and we could call it that, Wargame Online Weekly. And we just talk hobby as a group, because there's much more back and forth. My voice doesn't feel like it's about to die by the end of 1 hour of talking straight, and obviously there's more opinions than just one, and whoever's in the chat. So I think I would like to get to the stage, hey Lola, I'd like to get to the stage where we're doing at least 1 live show a week, but that being a group show, because I think they're brilliant. Three-step highlights on them. Yeah, that's... I mean, I generally do 2-step. I do a base coat. Like, these models are base coat, wash, 2 highlights. And on my test model, I didn't even bother doing the 2 highlights. I just did a base coat, a wash, and a highlight on most of it. So I can imagine how it's taking so long. Yeah, Ralph, I did say earlier on at the start that you were not happy with the fact that you bought your digital version and it's not working, so would have preferred to read my core rulebook today, but Black Library have technical issues on Warhammer Digital and I was not able to download my paid for digital version today. Not a happy camper. That is an absolute shame, Ralph. I'm looking forward to getting my digital version. because I think Phil will probably have the physical versions of the General's Handbook and Malign Sorcery and the core rulebook, and I will do my usual. I love my iPad, and my iPad's my like prized possession, especially for wargaming. I got it initially to do drawing on, and I haven't really done much drawing since. I haven't had the time to sit and draw, but for army lists and reading all of the books, I absolutely love it. The fact that I can just close an iBook and open up another one really quickly. I can leave bookmarks in there, and I can have the Azir app on. I need 40k to bring out an app like Azir soon rather than later, because that's why I love Age of Sigmar so much as well, just because I can do the army lists on my iPad and flick between the rules and the background, and then switch over straight to the app and start building lists. And then if something grips me, then I then go out and buy the models and start painting the army. With 40k, it's like, oh, okay, I can download the books, but then I've got to get pen and paper out and start cross-referencing it, or using the apps where they're not always updated, and I don't like relying on those as much, even though Azir isn't updated at the moment, but generally it's quite decent. Right, I have painted a whole 1 model's worth of black in this entire hour, which is just atrocious. Although we did look at the book, so I suppose we've done more than that. Khalees has disappeared. Lola's... You've stuck around, haven't you, Lola? Hey. You stuck around. You're a good dog. I've been on for an hour. I'm probably going to call it. I think Phil's going to be happy. This was the first time the internet's been used since he's had it updated, and it's absolutely great. I mean, I've never seen a full green bar on OBS and a perfect setup on YouTube before, so he's going to be happy. I think he's going to be doing 24-hour streams, and I will go back to my house where the internet struggles to make a call. So I've not got any fancy stuff. I can put up the end credits. Obviously we've got the videos next week. We've got the Army Box review, which will be on Wednesday. I don't know what's going to be before that. We might have a group chat during the week, but obviously we'll announce it when we do have it. So keep an eye on the Facebook page and the Facebook group. If you're not already on there, it's Wargamer Online Space Community. Just search for that in the bar and then request to join the group, and then we can accept you into it. We post stuff on our page as well as in the group, so you get all the information on there. We obviously have Instagram and Twitter. We're trying to keep on top of those at the minute. I haven't posted on an Instagram for a while, but I try to do updates as regularly as possible. And I am going to go and find some food from somewhere, I think. I'm going to go raid Phil's freezer for a pizza of some sort and take this doggo outside, because you probably need to go out, don't you? And then get on with some painting. So thanks to everyone who's come for a chat. If you're watching this back, thanks for watching it back, and I'll see you later on. I'll get the credits.